Hi, this is Kent Sovern, State Director of AARP in Iowa. With me is Anthony Carroll, our Associate State Director for Advocacy. We're continuing our wrap-up of the 2013 legislative session. We talked earlier about the Iowa Health and Wellness Plan, a lead priority of AARP. And in addition to that, we had several items around long-term care supports and services, those types of things that allow our members, or all people really, to live their best life in their communities, in their homes. Anthony, what kind of priorities did we have there, and how did they fare?
Well, on access, some positive developments. Our state was facing some cuts as it relates to access to home and community-based services, where people want to get their long-term care in their homes and services. We're able to not just stave off that cut thanks to good leadership. They not only prevented those cuts from going into effect, but put some additional money into what's called unmet needs. Unmet needs, as the name suggests, are areas where there's a need for home community-based services, but lack of funding prevents those services from occurring. So some additional funding putting into that. So some real progress as we expand where people want to get care in long-term care in their homes and communities.
Well, certainly our demographics all across Iowa, increasing percentage of the population are going to need those services. So access to the services, but what about the quality of those services? What kinds of initiatives are we encouraging on quality side?
Well, let's start with oversight. We know quality is important. Oversight, there's a lot of different ways that Iowa oversees long-term care. There's Department of Inspection and Appeals, which fines long-term care institutions who aren't doing a good job. We focus on the preventive side, a so-called long-term care ombudsman's office. Deanna Klingenfisher has a great team of people that more focus on the front end, where families have questions, perhaps some issues arise in the institution, getting those questions answered and having a system of support to stave off problems before they get severe was an area that we wanted to see some progress, but we didn't get as far as we wanted to.
And you mentioned Deanna, Klingenfisher, and I just created, or had a few series of interviews with Deanna, and look for those to be posted on our site here relatively soon. She gave us great information about the scope and the depth of their services.
Sure.
So what else did we look at this session?
Well, with that, we wish we put a little bit more funding and support for Deanna.
Yes.
We're towards the bottom of the country. The Ombudsman's office.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. We're towards the bottom of the country in the number of staff we have. So we want to put more support again in the front end as Iowans access more long-term care. We correspondingly need to put more support into oversight. And we had something pass the Senate and the House as part of the budget. So for having 2 new ombudsmen, including a volunteer ombudsman. Unfortunately, the governor vetoed that, so we were disappointed in that. Something we'll be revisiting on the oversight, but there's also a quality, another area of quality.
Speaking of quality, I think we had some initiatives around improving the professionalism of those people who actually provide direct care, whether in the home or within institutions.
Yep, direct care workers, people who by definition put their hands on people, providing support for people who are aging or disabled. Initiative to professionalize, get some more credentials, minimum training for all people who provide care. Unfortunately, that bill did not make it through the final legislature, any part of final deal, but it's something we look to revisit. And the good news on that front is the training that's been developed as part of this initiative is still moving forward. So direct care workers who want to access that training are still going to be able to get that training, but certainly something we will look forward to revisiting how we provide support for caregivers, paid and unpaid caregivers across the state.
So that remains on our to-do list
Yes.
for 2014 and probably beyond.
Yes,
Okay.
always.
And then finally, I think there was some efforts in financial security, fraud, senior abuse.
Yes.
Let me know what happened there.
Yeah, well, our elder abuse, we've talked about, there's a lot of different areas when we talk about elder abuse. This is, as you say, it's really a financial security issue. Unfortunately, a growing problem we've seen is financial exploitation in our state. So we had a bill, some great momentum going into session with a work group that established recommendations to improve financial exploitation. That proposal, we had good leaders in both chambers, again, looking at this issue, but ultimately some pushback on how to best improve it. The Bar Association is going to take a look at this over the session, come up with a series of recommendations. Hopefully we can all get on the same page on how we improve financial exploitation. You know, I would say, unfortunately, it's something we hear often, Kent, from members, people who call us, who have some really terrible stories to share about financial exploitation and really feeling powerless to stop that. So that's something, again, on the more to come area that we hope we can make some more progress on that next session.
Well, thank you, Anthony, and personally I thank you for many long hours that you spent during the legislative session, and thanks to all the great team volunteers that we have all across the state who, through your phone contacts, email contacts, visits with legislators during their weekend coffees, and actually coming to the state capitol to lobby directly on these important issues, have influenced the state legislature. Pretty successful session, all in all. Still a lot to do on our to-do list, and of course, with our population aging as it is, we're going to have that to-do list. Well, thank you again, Anthony. Thanks to all of our great team volunteers, and thanks to all of you who've tuned in throughout the session and continue to tune in throughout the year.